Has the other shoe dropped for SEO? Are companies becoming less people-oriented? And I have to ask, are we all going to become developers in the future? Those are some of the things that we're going to be diving into in this episode of Bot Bros, a segment of the AI-driven marketer. I'm Dan Sanchez, and I'm joined by my brother, Travis Sanchez.
Yeah, boy.
Where we try to unpack the hype that is AI and find the little helpful segments brought for marketers, because there's so much going on that we're digging through it and constantly finding all the little things that are actually helpful for just to know or to actually implement in your life as a marketer. So let's dive into the news, starting with some big news that happened around the SEO community this week. The Google stocks tanked this week.
Crazy.
Did you see why?
Massive point drop. Well, funny enough, I heard from one of my favorite social media influencers who does real estate stuff. He started talking about, I got my first real AI lead this week. And he started talking about how someone found him who's a big hitter, someone who has lots of dollars to play with when it comes to what this guy does. And he was like, he contacted me because ChatGPT told me you're the perfect person I need to work with next. And then you said,
yeah, this is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Google's losing search share and their stock price tanked because there's been a big court case going on, and Apple was coming to share some data with this court case. I don't even know what the court case is about, but Google's probably in court in 100 different places for different things that they do. But in this particular court case, Apple was asked why they thought the search traffic had dipped for Google on iPhones over the last month or two. And apparently they said, oh, we think it's dipping this last month for the first time in a long time because AI search answers are getting so good.
So good.
Bloomberg reported on it, and we'll drop a link to the show notes if you want to read the original article that came out with this. Google's stock just went down quite substantially, and even Apple's was down. I think everybody's down a little bit right now, but Google took such a hit that they had to respond to it and put out a statement being like, no, search traffic's up year over year, it's up. And everybody's quietly like, word on the street is a lot of people are now using AI to solve all kinds of things that they were going to Google for. I'm seeing it with my friends, more of my techie friends, but I think it's starting to become mainstream. Like older people are starting to do it. And I don't know, use that as the marker, but usually it's like young people first pick up a new tech trend. And this is kind of a business oriented one. So it's kind of like millennials and Xers mostly, I feel.
Well,
but I don't know.
Have you introduced anyone in the Xer or Boomer range to ChatGPT? Showed them how to use it. Try to help them optimize their, I don't know, iPhone usage using AI. Have you?
No,
Really?
I'm not opened up their phone and being like, here, this is what you do. I talked to them about it. I encouraged them to try it, but
okay, well,
I've
talked to my father-in-law. I talked to our dad about it, optimizing which chatbot he was going to use. Chatbot, more not a chatbot. I just call it.
My church, which is small, I mean, probably 600 people and a staff of 5-7 people, I don't know, asked me to come in and do a little presentation of practical ways they could start using ChatGPT. So I did that.
Huh. For the church.
Yeah. Just for it's just because it's so helpful for admin stuff. But anyway, it's starting to just become more mainstream. People are using it. It's helpful. And this is, of course, going to impact SEO. In fact, an article post I saw this week, and I thought this was big until I saw the Apple thing, but the marketing director for Ahrefs, which is the most popular SEO tool on the market. So this is the content marketing director from Ahrefs, essentially had this long LinkedIn post, again, link in the show notes to this post, saying that the blog-driven SEO was dying and that the end of an era was near. And I don't know, when it comes to SEO, that's kind of 90% of the game is writing blog posts. Of course, SEO is more than that, and SEO won't die because marketers will figure out how to optimize for AI recommendations and stuff.
Right.
GEO will become the thing, right? Generative Engine Optimization. all the acronyms.
I know.
We could have come up with something better, guys. Like, why do we have to stick with an acronym for search optimization? But we did. I was trying to call it AI priming, but GEO got coined, and that's the term now.
AI priming.
If the main content marketer, the guy who's literally in charge of blogging for the main SEO tech company, is saying, this is dying, that I'm like, okay, the other shoe is dropped. Like, we've talked about this even back in fall about SEO, like the writings on the wall for SEO. But now I'm like, this kind of confirms that it is now known, and everybody should know, the SEO initiatives should not be seen as a plausible future. It's also a long-term initiative. You don't do SEO and think like, oh, I'm going to crush it this quarter. No, you're doing SEO because you think you're going to crush it 3 to 4 quarters from now, more like 2-3 years from now. Yep. You're developing a moat. Those moats are going to disappear. HubSpot's SEO moat will go away, and they've seen this for a while, so they started diversifying.
Yeah, but it won't just disappear. It'll probably be a slow transition over to GEO, right? I mean, if you have a decent SEO base based on your articles and blogs, it's going to slowly start crossing over to GEO.
I think the transition will happen faster than people realize, though. I don't think it'll be as slow as it took to have, like, do you remember the transition that we had with like mobile, with websites specifically? Like, there was this moment where like you didn't really, like, I remember my first website I built, or not my first, that's more like one of my early websites. I had to develop a whole separate website for mobile. Okay. And it was good. It got a way more conversions because it was optimized for the little screen. That was before responsive web design was really a thing, so that whole website could pare down. It was just starting to become a thing. And it took a long time for websites to have what they called their mobile moment, to where more of your web traffic was coming from mobile than from desktop. And of course, we still spend a lot of time on desktop, so desktop never died. I think Google will go way down more than just desktop searches. For most website traffic is coming from mobile nowadays for most websites.
For sure.
And it took years. It took years for most industries and most websites to have their mobile moment where 50% of the traffic or more came from mobile. I think this thing to search will not take years. I think it'll be slow, and then it'll have a tipping point, and all of a sudden it'll be like 80% over the course of 2 years. I don't know when that moment will happen, but it'll happen because AI will just become so much more efficient at finding stuff.
Crazy thought. And I know Gary Vee has been talking about how attention is the new oil of the 21st century. Yeah. I'm now wondering, how is AI optimizing and getting the right information for those users? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's not just looking for articles and keywords. It's looking for every piece of content you've put out there, because it is scrubbing channels. It will scrub videos. It will scrub, of course, written websites, anywhere that it goes, oh, this person is who you're looking for, or this is the business that you're looking to do sales with. Like, it will be about content again, but not because you're getting the attention of people. You just have the right content for AI to go, yeah, this is probably what this person is looking for.
We know roughly how GEO works because the AI is training and looking for associations, looking for patterns. It's really good. That's how it works in a basic level. But I've not seen a proper guide on how to optimize GEO yet. In fact, I should probably start hunting for a guest for this show so we can do like a deep dive on someone who's actually done some campaigns, seen some results, boosted some things, like it was not there and then it was. You know, I haven't seen any case studies on that yet. So this field is still new. So someone's going to crush it building a career on GEO. They're going to be the GEO gal or guy, and they're going to crush it. That's not going to be me, but somebody's going to be that because it's going to be a thing.
Wow.
Next news item, unless you have something to follow up on that.
No, you'll have to dabble in it somehow, because people are going to be coming to you specifically and being like,
oh yeah, that's why I need to get a guest on the show.
Okay, so yeah.
I need to learn, but that's one of the secrets of having a podcast, is just having the easiest way to get a hold of getting an hour of anybody's time.
Yeah.
I'm like, almost any author I want to talk to, any buddy who's doing some cool stuff, I'm like, hey, you doing the whole, can I pick your brain for 5 minutes? I'll buy you coffee. Like, dude, no one cares. But if you give them access to a spotlight and show it on them, you don't even have, your podcast can be brand new and they still say yes. So for those who haven't figured this out about how cool podcasting is, that's why I'm such a big fan of the medium. It's useful for many things, but one of them is getting time with anybody you want to talk to and learn from. So next news segment is that more companies are joining this AI first bandwagon. Duolingo is a big one that happened recently. Again, it's going to be a bunch of early adopters, a bunch of like innovative tech companies, maybe like innovative product driven companies, usually your D2C direct to consumer brands like Allbirds and stuff. Maybe not Allbirds, they're having a hard time, but companies like them will be joining this bandwagon of being AI first, which means they're essentially putting out a company-wide announcement being like, hey, we're not hiring anybody, and if AI can do it, everyone's demanded to use AI. If you don't get on the train, this is going to be bad for you. So Shopify made a big announcement. Now Duolingo. Shopify's was at least like, hey, we want to empower people. Duolingo's was like, AI is going to run everything, so become AI oriented or else. And it was very much like some of the feedback was like, hey, saying you're AI first kind of implies that you're human second or human last. Don't do that.
I hear it and I started just analyzing every role in depth. Finance, database, areas that it takes someone with great knowledge to understand how a Salesforce database works and how the CRM works for different, I don't know, companies. I'm like, how can someone know if AI is going to be able to replace somebody or actually do a better job than a human, I don't know, technology officer? I'm like, AI is developing so quickly. How are they going to have a scope of, man, is AI in the right place to where we don't have to hire a human resource for this? We can actually just transition over to AI. I'm like, you still need people to run the AI. There's not optimization for bots yet.
A lot of things.
So,
yeah. Nope. That doesn't mean they're going to get rid of their workforces. They're just going to be much, much slower to hire. And they want and expect more output out of everybody with AI.
Man.
And maybe when tough times get tough, they'll start eliminating places and people and start replacing them with AI. I just think it's kind of a cold message, and they don't have to do it that way. There's like a ton of different ways to do this. In fact, I got to give props to one company that I heard literally just last night. He didn't know I was going to share this information, but since it's good information, I'm sure they'll be okay with it. But a friend of mine came over last night. We were talking about the company he works for, which is Dave Ramsey. And this, like, if whether you love Dave Ramsey, you hate Dave Ramsey, or you don't even know this guy, he's a big, essentially a big finance influencer who started in radio, now dominates all the social channels with his money radio show. And they've diversified in all kinds of different things. And they have lots of different products. You're talking like probably like $100, $200 million company. I don't know. They don't publish numbers, but that's my guess as far as to where they are revenue wise. They're pushing AI heavy in their company now, but they're also people first. So they ain't doing this whole AI first thing, but they are saying like, hey, like if you have a ChatGPT license, like it's starting to get so good that we're kind of expecting that you're using it at least 5 times a day. This is where we're going. But they're also the kind of company that's very people oriented. When the pandemic hit, they cut and minimized all costs, and they communicated early and often to employees to be like, hey, this is the plan. If we've lost a lot of money, we're going to continue to lose money. We're going to do everything we can to keep it, of course, and try to earn money back. But we've cut off all extra spends of everything. Everyone's going to continue getting paid. If we have an emergency fund and we could start dipping into it, if we run out of money, before we run out of money though, all of our executives will stop receiving a paycheck before you lose anything. And then they walk through a whole order. Like the last case scenario after like 7 points is like, we'll start letting people go. But this is how committed we are. And we have an emergency fund, like a year-long emergency fund for our company.
I know, but Dave Ramsey is like a different breed of
but
people first.
The reason why I'm saying it is because it is possible to be all in on AI and still be dramatically and empathetically people first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stories like this have to be known because while this is a show for marketers, there's still a few CEOs in this crew, and people need to know, like, there are companies who are doing this the right way. You can be all about your people trying to make the most of it and still being like, hey, let's figure out how to use this thing. We want to stay on top of it. We don't want to get lost to the competition that are using this and getting dramatic improvements. Did you hear about the Procter and Gamble study?
No.
Procter and Gamble had this big study where they took a bunch of different teams, and of course they had their control groups of teams that did nothing different. They just kept operating, and then they had 2 test groups. In one test group, they took one employee out of a team, properly trained them on AI, and then measured all their productivity. And then they took whole teams and trained the whole team on AI. The teams that had one employee trained on AI, like the employees' productivity outperformed teams without AI. You're talking like small teams of like 6 to 8. Right. So one employee did the work of a whole team of 8 people more. Wow. You're like, what the heck? Yeah. That's dramatic improvement.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the whole team trained on AI also outperformed the one person with AI, but not to the same dramatic margin. Their work got better. They were better at cross-functional tasks and just all around produced more. I'm like, that's going to have an effect. That's going to have an effect, but we don't have to let go of employees. We can repurpose some of them and just find and fight to find all the best uses for our current employees. But this is going to have an impact on the economy, of course, because people will be slower to hire because they won't need to hire as fast. And that will have a trickle down effect.
Efficient.
So again, just news saying that this is a trend. It's going to continue being a trend. I think it'll be 2 years before it picks up to where a lot of companies are doing this, like the majority of companies. Right now, only the most innovative companies are thinking and acting this way.
Yeah, it's probably like 2% of companies.
Yeah, but in 2026, like we're going to start seeing 10, 15% do this. And then 2027, it'll probably trickle over. That's my rough timeline.
Right.
It could happen faster, but again, companies are slow unless tech startups start disrupting them faster. Mm-hmm. All right. Last news piece is there's a lot of news going on around this like dev side. And I want to talk about it because it's like, well, this is a marketing show. This isn't a dev show, but it's going to impact marketers. Let me theorize on how. OpenAI bought a company called Windsurf, which is like an AI code development tool. It's not the most popular one. The most popular one I hear of is called Cursor, which is probably like a $9 billion evaluation. But OpenAI bought Windsurf for $2 billion. And it shows everyone like, look, ChatGPT is getting back in the game of coding because right now they're on the bottom of the stack for AI models that code. It can code. It just doesn't do it as well as Claude or Google currently. Those are the 2 leaders. Especially Claude has a lot of market share when it comes to developing code. I'm even working with a developer right now to code an application that I have not revealed yet on this channel. That's going to be for marketers, a lightweight code. And he's using Claude a lot to help him write a lot of the code because code is very repetitive and it's very structured, way more structured than English. And it crushes at writing papers and like blog posts and stuff. It's good at code, at least repetitive code that's not like innovative. It's just like, yeah, this is like typical code, right? Or what this like what a homepage of a WordPress site usually looks like. It can code that really easily because it has a lot of examples of it. This is going to be a big deal because as AI gets better at coding, like marketers, sometimes we develop stuff. Like, have you ever contracted a developer to build something custom for you?
Yeah.
That's just going to be a more normal thing. And we might even be able to dabble in it ourselves soon. So instead of being like, oh, I wish this software did this thing. Like in a year from now, we'll probably be like, oh, well, let's just extend it. Well, let's just build that one in-house instead of buying a SaaS product. We'll just do that. We'll have a little custom tool for our team that does that thing that we need.
And you'll just be able to prompt it up to chat who knows your back-end system and change little things. I don't like the color of that button. Switch it. Oh, I actually want these different, programs to talk to each other in this way. Mm-hmm. Run it. Man.
There's all kinds of reasons why we want this. And we'll have, our big applications will still be hosted in the cloud and be managed by, our main core software stack. Right. But like all these little peripherals, little WordPress plugins, man, we'll just be doing them ourselves and it'll work better and it'll do exactly what we needed to do. We won't have to wait for the developer or go bug someone to go build it. Like we'll just be building it ourselves. This is going to be huge for marketers because we're often tied down by like our limitations, but now it's literally like we can just fix it. We can come up with stuff to do it, maintain it and help it and build it. I think it's really exciting. I remember my first time hiring a developer to like extend the functionality of our CRM. I hated the view of CRMs because like you either had full contact view or like some kind of like stupid like
dashboard
looking thing.
Yeah,
And I'm
report,
like, I want it to look like a freaking Google sheet, but I want it to be live. I want it to be sortable. And I want to be able to quickly see like all the indicators because this was for a college admissions system.
So funny. Yeah.
And I'm like, I need essentially a live red light, green light report, which is like, I just want to see the names and then a row of red or green check boxes.
Whether
like
if they are next to be contacted or what.
Yeah. Well, like, because, you know, you've worked in this kind of system where you have like people coming through a process that before they can be ready to actually go do their experience, or in this case, enroll into college. You know, you got to get your financial aid settled. You got to get your first deposit down. You got to get all these things. And I needed a way specifically for the admissions team. But since I'm the marketer running all the MarTech and it's plugged into the CRM, it's like, it's my responsibility to make sure the admissions team I became like IT part 2 at that college. I handled all that stuff. It's normally an IT thing, but we were doing it at marketing. So I had a developer come in, tap into the API and just make this thing. And we called it the admissions checklist. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. It made it so much easier to see like where we were at, and different admissions reps could like pull up their list, sort by this cohort of people, and then start just calling from there and checking it off and moving things around. Or people would call in and be like, oh, let me look you up. Bam, come up real fast. It's built in React. So it's all super interactive. And be like, oh yeah.
Missing.
Oh, you did turn that in. Let me check. Yeah. And then they would check it off the list and it would go and update the CRM, and the CRM would sync with the online portal where they could check to see what their status was. Yep. Like it all worked together. It's a thing of beauty. But I'm like, dang, like we're all going to be building these things for ourselves. I don't have to go and hire a developer to help me build this stuff anymore. That's going to be awesome.
I had my wife, who's a master whiz in Excel. She created that for me in my last role for all my donors. I needed a spreadsheet that I could pull exactly who I needed to see what was their giving history, what was the timeline, what was the amounts, what was the lead generation, where'd they come from, who's the best relationship holder. So yeah, I called it rotation checklist.
Yeah, because of that former organization we worked for.
That was before. Checklist. I was like,
we called it that too, and then I changed it to admissions checklist. Yeah,
did you? Yeah, it's smart. I'm like, well, if AI could help me build some admission checklists or rotation checklists or donor report checklists, then yeah.
Which, if anybody wants to build a SaaS product, that's one that I'm like, it's one of those ideas that I'm like, nobody's really built like turning your CRM data into a spreadsheet that's interactive. No one's really built that. And I'm not talking about syncing it with Airtable. I'm talking about building a custom one that with React and SaaS. So it's not like
you could hook it up to any CRM, if you're using Salesforce or Donor
I thought about
Cloud
I thought about hiring a developer and just going in and being a SaaS company around that idea. And I'm like, it would have worked, but I just didn't have enough passion around that particular idea to like want to like build a company around it. But somebody should, because dang. Anyway, I think we're all going to be getting into that game. Moving on from the news segment onto our sponsor. Man, our show just picked up a sponsor, which is crazy that the show is now at a size. I think we almost have 3,000 followers. It's close to the AI driven marketer. And so picked up a sponsor. High Level. Have you been in High Level yet?
No.
Have you heard about it?
Just from you.
Like, imagine remember Active Campaign?
Yeah.
You're like, did you like Active Campaign?
Better than Pardot, man. Come on.
For sure. Small business tech is almost always better than
Active Campaign's like literally targeted me. Are you frustrated with Pardot? You'll love Active Campaign. I was like, how do they know? Anyways, okay, so tell me about High Level.
High Level. I got into High Level because I was coming off of Infusionsoft, and Infusionsoft kind of crashed and burned. They just sold because like I loved Infusionsoft. They were early in the marketing automation space. They were one of the first people to do like the drag and drop automation builder. And I built, again, that rotation check,
Yeah, I
that
remember.
admissions checklist. It was all built
Yep.
in Infusionsoft. I freaking crushed it. It was automated. I automated a whole college admission system with Infusionsoft, small business software. It was a thing of beauty. But eventually, not all software companies make it. You know, they raised a lot of money and it kind of dragged on. Turnover, it went south.
Shoot.
And so I was kind of like this outcast. I didn't have a home like for my like main marketing stack. I liked HubSpot, but HubSpot was freaking expensive.
Oh, so expensive.
And it just didn't actually do as much as I would have hoped. It didn't have all the little tools like texting and phone calls. You had to it hooked up with things like that, but I'm like, it just didn't do enough things natively for me. And then someone introduced me to High Level, and I was like, oh, it does all the stuff. It does texting and calling and emails, and you can build funnels in it, and it all integrates like so much better than a lot of the other tools. And it only costs $100 a month. And their consumable cost of like how much it costs to send emails, you just pay the raw cost, because I think they hook up to Mailgun as their email server. You just pay almost the raw cost, and the text messages were like a half a cent a text message, which most text messaging platforms, it's like 2 cents or 4 cents or 5 cents a message. I was like, my gosh, how the heck do they afford this? And then it just got better because I found out High Level is designed for agencies, for that. If you go from like $100 a month to $300 a month, you can actually like set up unlimited accounts for free.
Wow. I mean, what's the elevator pitch for High Level? Is it a CRM platform, or is it
CRM, marketing automation tool? But it kind of does everything. Like It gets rid of Calendly. It has a whole calendar system. It gets rid of
nice. That's
it has
cool.
a whole funnel system, so you can get rid of click funnels. You don't need that anymore. It has a whole website builder. You can even host your WordPress site in there. It's where I'm hosting danchez.com right now. It's decent. Probably not as good as like WP. Like if you're a big website company, you probably don't want to host with High Level. You probably want to stick with like a DigitalOcean or something like that, because it has all the dev tools. But it does all the stuff. And I think my favorite part about it is it has all the AI stuff baked into it. So I know they're a sponsor of the show, and this is kind of a long sponsor shout out, but it's the first one. So I want to talk about them. I've been using them for years. I'm so excited to partner with them.
It's cool.
But I'm really excited to start doing some episodes on how to do automations with AI in the CRM, because I think this is where a lot of people aren't really really taking advantage of it. Imagine if your CRM could actually customize your drip campaigns, actually customize to your users' information, your sales sequence. Come on. Like imagine walking through like that past copywriting method, like pain, agitate, solution, but it's customized for them on the fly, 1-to-1. It's going to work better. So I'm going to be doing a whole series on that coming up, where I'll be releasing the automations and giving it away for free. So stay tuned for that. High Level, I've been using them for a while, but I'm glad to pick them up as a sponsor of the show. If you want to learn more, of course, there's a sponsor discount, or not a discount, but an extended trial is what it is. Just go to danchez.com/high level, but there's more to that, more coming to that. But I'm glad they became the sponsor, because they were already like one of my favorite tools. So I was like,
cool. That's awesome.
Next segment of the show is also a new segment for practical AI. Travis, you came up with this one, but showcasing like what you and I are actually doing with ChatGPT on a weekly basis. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I was tasked with a quarterly report for the new organization that I was looking for, and the person that I replaced already had some quarterly reports, and they were okay, but they needed work. It's so fun to be able to throw it at chat and just say, hey, I know what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? How do we ramp this up? And then it spits all these ideas out, some that I already had, some that I didn't, and it just helps create a framework for what I knew I wanted to plug in. So as I'm plugging in raw data of what it needs to replace it with, it's already building on the backbone of something that's already been created. So I didn't have to recreate the wheel. I didn't have to plug it all in myself. It already spit something out that I was able to run with about 90%, plug in some, missing information. But I just love that there's a chat, an AI that can take something of old and then make it new. So that was a practical thing that I was like, man, we need to start sharing what practical ways we've used AI even in the last week that we thought, okay, that was super helpful and streamlined. And then I'm like, you know what? I think the audience would love the practical ways we use AI that's outside of marketing, but really like actually practical. This is kind of a funny story though. ChatGPT doesn't always get it right, and neither do humans. And here's the story. I was on my way to refill, what was it? Propane tanks. And I had, it was for my rental property. Guy ran out of propane. I was like, all right, hey chat, where can I pick up propane tanks? Can I pick it up from Costco? It was like, absolutely. All Costco's, you can transfer like an empty propane tank and you can fill it up. I was like, okay, great. So I show up to Costco, go through the front door. You got to check in, scan your badge. And I'm like, hey man, the guy's like, welcome. I'm like, do you guys have propane tanks? Yeah. He goes, absolutely. Yeah. We sell them full. I'm like, great. So I walk in the back, I get a cart. I find the empty propane tanks that Costco sells. Yeah. They definitely don't sell propane whatsoever. I didn't need, I'm like,
double
okay,
fail. AI
wow,
hallucinates.
AI
People
failed.
hallucinate.
Humans hallucinate. He's like, oh yeah, we sell them full for sure. I was like, all right, no, that's not true. You cannot get propane. You can buy an empty propane bottle, which has a little dial. Anyways, these are my practical ways I used AI. I have another one, but I'll let Dan go next.
So I had a few. It's interesting looking back to the history, but there are always different use cases in there. This one's really practical. Oftentimes we deal with like different kinds of agreements or contracts. I had a speaker agreement come through because I got asked to speak at a digital MarCon. It's coming up in Nashville on the 19th and the 20th. So I'm doing a session there, but they sent me the speaker agreement afterwards, and I'm like, I'm still new to getting on stage and speaking. I don't know a lot. So of course I'm like, ChatGPT, help me out. Look at the speaker agreement. Tell me if there's anything weird in here. So it runs through it and kind of gives me a breakdown. It's like, oh, this is normal. This is kind of not normal. Here's some thoughts around how you should follow up about this. Hey, you should probably check into this. This is kind of not super uncommon, but it is a little different. Here's some ways to think about it. And it kind of just helped me break down the contract, help me to think how to process it, what to look for, how to follow up if I wanted to actually double check on some of these things. Most of it was just fine anyway. But it gave me more confidence that what I was getting into wasn't going to like be a bad thing. So
Smart.
That was helpful. Another one is, I think I mentioned this on LinkedIn a week ago, but oftentimes I'm posting on LinkedIn all the time, like 2 to 3 times a day. I'm shooting for like 15 to 21 posts a week. It's a lot of content, especially, and I'm usually making it up on the fly. Like I sometimes will get a lot of ideas in one day and just start publishing ahead.
Nice.
But oftentimes I'm sitting there at 11 a.m. and I know I need a post for noon. I can usually think, because I'm involved in this stuff so much, I can usually think of something I just did and talk about it. So if you see me on LinkedIn, I'm literally coming up with this as I go. Or I'm reporting what I'm doing. I'm really documenting what I'm doing as I go, as I think about it. But sometimes I get stuck and I don't know what to do. So something I found is really helpful with ChatGPT is, because of this new memory feature, I could just be like, hey, ChatGPT, what have we talked about recently related to AI that could be a good post for LinkedIn? And it'll pull up a bunch of recent conversations we've had and give me ideas. I will pick one and then we'll turn it into a post together. So that's just really helpful if you're coming up with content or need new ideas for content based on recent conversations. And I've heard creators talk about like, oh, just open up your calendar and see what you've been doing recently. This is like a new version of that, but it's way better because AI has more context than your calendar does.
Smart.
Moving on to the poll of the week, I kind of wondered, because my LinkedIn feed is like dominated by AI. And I'm like, who else is this happening for? So I posted a poll on LinkedIn. I said, how much of your LinkedIn feed is about AI right now, roughly? And this was the results of that poll. 306 people voted. 39% people said 80%.
Wow.
And I probably should have put 80% or more, because that was the top option. That's a lot. This was the highest voted thing, and it stair steps from there. 33% said 60% of their feed. 19% of people said 40% of their feed is AI related. 6% of people said 20%, and 2% of people said 10% or less of their feed is dominated by AI related content. Not AI created content, but content about AI. So LinkedIn right now is going crazy about AI. Has been for a couple of months now.
Wow.
I don't think that's true across, like, I don't see that on Facebook. My ex leans more towards AI. Instagram, I don't find so much. How have you experienced that? Because you're not a frequent LinkedIn goer.
No, I'm not. I I haven't seen huge. I mean, I would probably say 20%. I would have voted 20%, but I'm not on LinkedIn, which would make sense why LinkedIn has a higher percentage. It is more of the professional platform. I mean, of course, there's social content in there that has nothing to do with work, but it is the place that people go to rub shoulders, understand industries, post about their work. So, and that's where AI is taking the most, ground. So it makes sense. I being more on Instagram, scrolling more for casual entertainment. It all depends. It probably depends on the season too. When AI was really big, and I was really. I mean, I'm still super interested in it, but it was more of a focus of it was novelty. It was hitting me harder, but now it's just a part of my daily life. So now I'm. It's like, yeah, of course we're using AI. I don't need to. Hear about it every 5 seconds on social media.
Of course, it kind of shows the trend that like AI is really dominating like the workplace more than it is like consumer life yet.
Yes.
But it'll come around because people start figuring out how helpful it is for everyday life.
That line that you just said, it's the first time that AI has reached a level that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have Jarvis in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because it can remember all of my past conversations. It's like I have a personal Jarvis, which we only dreamed about when we watched those first Marvel movies. Like, this thing, like, it knows him. It knows Tony Stark. And I'm like, this thing knows me. Yeah. And if it says something wrong, I just go, correct it. And it goes, you got it, boss. I'm like,
wow. There's one major thing that it's missing from our Jarvis currently, and that is it can't
Iron
be
Man
proactive.
suit. Oh,
it can't be proactive. Versus Jarvis could be proactive and be like, "Sir, you're going to be late for your meeting." Like ChatGPT can't do that. ChatGPT can't you can schedule a task, of course, for it to go and run, but it can't proactively engage.
Right.
When it does, that'll be a game changer for a lot of things. It also, for those who like start building a relationship with it, it's going to be deeper.
Yeah, that.
But it'll be interesting.
That would be crazy because I was almost late for a meeting off-site with a bunch of other organizations, and I was almost late. And if chat like popped up and said, "Hey, just want you to know this is happening, and you're still at the office, and you need to move because it's 10 minutes away," it's like, whoa! It's like picking up your location.
Yeah, which Google phones, iPhone users don't know this, but Android does that already. Like it'll show you like, hey, you need to leave now. Hey, it's going to take 15 minutes to get and Android phones have been doing this since 2015. That's how I know, because I had an Android phone at that time for the one time in my life. And it was like, hey, by the way, you're going to need to leave your work early because traffic conditions are such and your airplane leaves at this time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was doing that in 2015 or 2016 or something like that. It was crazy. iPhone still doesn't do that. You're like, I'm still an Apple fan, but like we're a little behind the ball on that one. But ChatGPT will just start proactively like talking to us about these kinds of things and be our executive assistant. We'll wake up, get the briefing, and it'll Jarvis us,
Bro, that'd be great.
And to finish, we had a viral post from, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Shibatoshi Nakamoto on X. This went viral, and it's coming off another post that was similar to this one, but this one is essentially took a photo of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and someone asked it like to replicate the picture of The Rock 101 times. And if you've seen this video, then you know, like after each iteration that it says, and that's asking it to replicate the photo perfectly, each time is like the other, but shifts subtly. And after 101 iterations of it shifting and shifting and shifting, it morphed into a crazy looking, just red, yellow, and blue photo. And it made The Rock look really distorted pretty early, and then it just faded into oblivion. All to say that like this tool doesn't really hold the true likeness. Okay.
He's like turning into Buddha. And then now wow. What did I just watch?
I'll put a link in the show notes. And I'll see if I can. No, I'm not going to get this up. It's just go watch the show notes of this video, and it's nuts to watch the Rock morph because they put it into like a little timeline of him changing.
For a second there, he started turning into Golem.
Yeah,
from Lord of the Rings, and then now it ends in a happy modern jellyfish
looking thing.
Wow,
with this weird smile. He eventually starts turning purple or blue and red lips in there somewhere, or blue lips.
Wow.
I don't know, it gets weird. This is practical tip for marketers. If you're using ChatGPT's image generator to make your likeness in it, I'm going to do a whole video on this once I perfect the process, because it's taken me a long time to figure out how to make the thumbnails for the show. And I think I finally figured it out. Essentially, you have a rough style for it, what you want, but if you feed it a photo of yourself or somebody else and you're like, hey, make a photo of this person in the image, it'll be close, but it won't quite be you or the person, right? It'll be slightly off. Close enough that most people would be like, oh yeah, that's that person. But that person in particular will be like, that's not me. There's a way to fix that. And I learned this, a little pro tip from another AI marketer user out there, is that if you feed it that image and it creates the image, take those two images, the image of yourself that you fed it and the output that ChatGPT gave you, take those two images to a free face swapping tool. Okay, just Google free face swapping tool. Find one of these tools out there, and then tell it to swap the face of the ChatGPT created image with the original image you fed it. Because again, it's already based off that image, so all the lighting's correct, and it will correct it. It will put your face or that person's face back on the image. And that's how I'm starting to do all the images for this show. Is it still doesn't look photorealistic, but now it actually looks like me, if the image is on the show.
Interesting.
And that's just a cheap hack to get it back to at least like not 90%, but like 98% likeness. It's not perfect, but before I was trying to do it all in Photoshop, and dude, trying to Photoshop a face onto another face is a freaking pain.
Gross.
Instead, use the face swap tool. It's like the shortcut of just Photoshopping a face onto a face. And if you're using the original image that you fed ChatGPT, it works pretty dang well. So, pro tip.
Wow.
Give it a shot.
Which app are you using to do the face swap?
Let's look it up.
I'm sure people are curious because I'm curious.
I'm using remaker.ai.
Remaker.
You get a bunch of free versions of it, and then you can do it, and then you have to create an account. You get like 30 credits, which is 30 face swaps, I think a month or something like that.
All right.
Maybe it's one time 30 credits, and I'll have to start paying for it, but I think it's pretty cheap. This is the tool I'm currently using, is remaker.ai. There might be a better one out there. I didn't try a lot of them. I just kind of liked this one and just kept using it. So that's what I'm currently using, remaker.ai. It's one of many tools that they have. And I think I just Googled free face swap tool, and this was like the top ranking one. I just started using it. It worked, and I kept using it.
Got it.
So link in the show notes to that as well. Well, that's all we have today. So thank you for joining us. Continue using AI so that you can move faster, build better, and think smarter as a marketer.